The stadium lights blared like accusatory spotlights, casting long shadows across the sea of black caps and gowns. I stood on the stage, diploma in hand, the roar of applause crashing over me like a wave I couldn't ride. My heart pounded, not from pride, but from the vibration in my pocket, a text that buzzed insistently, demanding attention. I pulled out my phone, the screen's glow harsh against the twilight. From Dad. "Congrats, kid. But don't expect help from me. You're on your own now." The words hit like a gut punch, stealing my breath. Fury ignited in my chest, hot and immediate, but beneath it, a colder ache spread, humiliation raw and exposed. Here I was, Alexandra Alex Harlan, valedictorian of MIT's class of 2025, founder of a biotech startup on the cusp of revolutionizing gene editing, and my own father was cutting the cord with a casual text. No call, no explanation. Just abandonment, typed out in sans serif font while I smiled for the cameras. I forced a grin as I descended the steps, the cheap polyester gown scratching my skin like a reminder of how far I'd clawed my way here on scholarships and side gigs. The crowd blurred into a mosaic of faces, classmates hugging parents, tears of joy flowing freely. My mother was gone, lost to cancer 5 years ago. Her absence a void that Dad had promised to fill. Promised. The word tasted like bile. I scanned the stands for him, but he wasn't there. Course not. He'd probably sent that from his corner office in Boston, sipping scotch while dictating memos. My phone rang then, slicing through the haze. Unknown number, but the area code screamed Silicon Valley. I answered, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "This is Alex. Ms. Harlan. This is Raj Patel, your CFO at GenForge. I know it's graduation night, congrats by the way, but we just got the green light. The IPO is set for next quarter. Valuations are through the roof. We're talking billions." Billions. The word hung in the air, surreal against the backdrop of cheering families. I should have hooped, jumped, felt the vindication flood me. Instead, resentment coiled tighter. Dad had been the one to plant the seed, late-night talks in our cramped apartment, him sketching DNA helices on napkins while I, at 16, dreamed of curing Mom's disease. He'd funded my early prototypes with his venture capital scraps, boasted about his girl's genius at cocktail parties. But then the cracks, whispers of him diverting funds, claiming my ideas as his own in board meetings. And now this text like I was some charity case he'd outgrown. I wandered away from the crowd, the grass damp under my heels, the scent of fresh-cut turf mixing with a metallic tang of impending rain. Alone in the parking lot, I replayed the message, each reread fueling the fire. Don't expect help. As if I hadn't built GenForge from nothing, coding in dorm rooms while he golfed with investors. Heartbreak mingled with anger. How could the man who'd taught me to fight now abandon the ring? That night, in my studio apartment overlooking the Charles River, I paced the creaky hardwood floors, the city lights flickering like distant fires. Denial crept in first. Maybe it was a joke, a tough love push. But no, his voice echoed in my mind from our last call. "Alex, business is war. Family's just collateral." I'd laughed it off then, but now it stung. Fantasies bubbled up. Storming his office, smashing his prized crystal decanter, watching the amber liquid pool like blood. Or subtler, exposing his embezzlement from my seed fund, the loans he'd never repaid. Guilt nipped at the edges. He was still Dad, the one who'd read me bedtime stories about Edison and Curie. But resentment won out, a slow poison seeping into my veins. I poured a glass of cheap Merlot, the tartness biting my tongue, and stared at my laptop. GenForge's dashboard glowed. User growth exponential, patents pending. This was mine. And he'd tried to claim it. The next morning, hangover pounding like a drum, I met my co-founder Lena at a dingy Cambridge cafe. The air thick with espresso and burnt toast, she slid into the booth, her pixie-cut disheveled, eyes alight. "IPO, Alex. We're gonna be legends." Her enthusiasm was infectious, but I forced a smile, my mind elsewhere. "Yeah," I muttered, stirring my black coffee, the the spoon clinking rhythmically against the mug. "But Dad," he bailed. Lena's face hardened, her fingers tightening on her latte. She'd been there from the start, witnessing his advice sessions that devolved into criticisms. "Screw him. Remember when he borrowed your algorithm for his firm's pitch? Said it was inspiration. That's not family, that's theft." Her words landed like validation, but doubt whispered. Was I overreacting? The text replayed in my head, a loop of rejection. We talked strategy, hiring PR, prepping for the roadshow, but underneath my thoughts darkened. Revenge flickered not as rage but as calculation. What if I invited him to the IPO launch? Let him see what he'd missed. Or better, dig into his finances, find the skeletons. Days blurred into a frenzy of meetings. Boardrooms with polished mahogany tables, the scent of leather and ambition heavy in the air. Investors in tailored suits nodded approvingly at my presentations, their questions sharp but my answers sharper. Yet each victory hollowed me out. At night, alone with the hum of my fridge and the distant wail of sirens, obsession took root. I'd scroll through Dad's LinkedIn, his posts boasting deals that mirrored my tech. Coincidence? Or betrayal? One evening, rain lashing the windows like accusations, I called him. The line rang 4 times before his gruff voice answered. "Alex, busy here. No hello. No congrats on the IPO." My voice cracked, betrayal spilling out despite my resolve. A pause, the faint clink of ice in glass. "Heard about that. Good for you. But like I said, don't expect help. I've got my own fires." "What fires, Dad?" "The ones you started by siphoning my prototypes." The words escaped, laced with years of suppressed rage. He chuckled, low and dismissive. "Kid, that's business. You were green, I refined it. Grateful's the word you're looking for." Humiliation burned my cheeks. "Refined? You stole it. Grow up, Alex. World doesn't owe you shit." Blick. The line went dead, leaving silence that echoed my heartbreak. I sank to the floor, knees on the cold tile, tears hot on my face. Resentment hardened into resolve, cold, unyielding. Ipe. Not with fists or screams but with precision. I'd uncover his secrets, turn his empire against him. Subtle hints emerged in the weeks that followed. An anonymous tip to my inbox. Files from his firm, showing he'd patented a variant of my gene editing tech under his name. Proof. My hands shook as I saved them, the cursor hovering like a guillotine. Doubt crept in, was this moral? But the memory of Mom's hospital bed, Dad promising we'll fix this, only to bail when costs mounted, silenced it. I confided in Lena over dim sum in Chinatown, steam rising from bamboo baskets, the clatter of chopsticks masking our whispers. "He's been undercutting me all along," I said, voice steady but eyes fierce. She leaned in, soy sauce dripping from her dumpling. Then hit back. "Use the IPO buzz. Leak it to the press. Father betrays daughter's breakthrough." Tempting, but too blunt. "No. Slower. Let him feel the noose tighten." Her nod was knowing, a spark of shared vengeance. Yet, guilt gnawed, was I becoming him? Manipulative, ruthless. As the IPO neared, tension built like storm clouds. I hired a PI, discreet payments from my growing war chest. Reports trickled in. Dad's firm teetering, bad investments, perhaps from overreaching on my stolen tech. Poetic. I fantasized his downfall, but fear lingered. What if it backfired? What if revenge consumed me? One night, in a high-rise hotel during an investor pitch in New York, the city skyline glittering like shattered glass, my phone buzzed. Dad again. Need to talk. In person. Suspicion flared. Was this regret? Or a trap? Heart pounding, I typed back. "Fine. Tomorrow." The meeting loomed, a pivot point. As I boarded the train back to Boston, the rhythmic clack of rails mirroring my pulse, I planned. Not just words, evidence. The files burned a hole in my drive. Revenge wasn't impulse. It was strategy. The cafe was tucked in Back Bay. All exposed brick and artisanal coffee, the kind of place Dad hated, too millennial. I arrived early, claiming a corner table where sunlight slanted through grimy windows, casting bars of light like prison stripes. The aroma of fresh grounds grounded me, but my hands trembled as I clutched the manila envelope. Printouts of the patents, emails proving his theft. Evidence. Cold and irrefutable. He strode in 10 minutes late. His gray suit rumpled, tie askew, a far cry from the polished tycoon I'd idolized. His eyes, bloodshot, scanned the room before landing on me. No hug, just a curt nod as he sat, signaling the barista for black coffee. The cup arrived steaming, and he sipped it black, wincing at the bitterness that mirrored our dynamic. "Alex," he started, voice gravelly from years of cigars. "Congrats on the IPO." "Really?" I leaned back, arms crossed, the envelope hidden in my lap. "Cut the crap. Why the meeting?" He sighed, rubbing his temples, the lines on his face deeper than I remembered. "My firm's in trouble. Bad deals. Need a loan. Or an investment. From you." Laughter bubbled up, sharp and incredulous. "After don't expect help. After stealing my work." His face paled, but defiance flickered. "Stealing? I mentored you." Those ideas were discussions. Family brainstorming. Brainstorming. I slid the envelope across the table, papers spilling out like confessions. "This says otherwise. Patents in your name. Funds diverted." He scanned them, color draining further. "Where'd you get these?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is you betrayed me. Mom was dying and you promised support. Instead, you profited off my grief." Guilt flashed in his eyes. Genuine, layered. "Alex, I was drowning too. Sir, I made mistakes. But I believed in you." "Believed. You abandoned me." Rage surged, but underneath, heartbreak cracked my voice. The cafe hummed around us. Patrons chatting obliviously, the espresso machine hissing like suppressed fury. He leaned forward, voice low. "I didn't abandon. Pushed you. Tough love. Look at you now, successful because of it. Manipulation, pure and slick." Doubt wormed in, was he right? Had his betrayal forged me? But no, the pain was too real, the resentment too deep. "I could ruin you," I whispered, the words tasting like ash. "Leak this. Watch your empire crumble." Fear crossed his face, then resolve. "You won't. You're better than that." Was I? Moral conflict raged. Revenge felt justified, but at what cost? Obsession had consumed my nights, turning joy to ash. As we parted, tension unresolved, I walked the cobblestone streets, wind whipping my coat like accusations. Planning intensified. I'd use the IPO to buy out his firm anonymously, strip him bare. But fear grew. What if it broke me? Weeks later, the IPO launch in San Francisco's gleaming convention center. Spotlights swept the stage, the air electric with anticipation. I stood at the podium, suit tailored sharp, voice steady as I rang the bell. Cheers erupted, confetti raining like false snow. In the crowd, Dad. Uninvited but there. Our eyes met, his pleading. Backstage, amid champagne pops and backslaps, Raj pulled me aside. "Alex, we found something. Your dad's been shorting our stock. Betting against us." The twist hit like lightning. Not just theft, sabotage. He'd come to the meeting not for help, but to gauge my weakness, perhaps plant doubt. Fury crystallized into action. That night, in my hotel suite overlooking the bay, fog rolling in like secrets, I called my lawyer. Execute the buyout. Anonymously. The process was surgical. Shell companies, quiet acquisitions. Dad's firm folded under the weight. His assets liquidated. I watched from afar, reports filtering in. His house foreclosed, partners fleeing. But the payoff wasn't sweet. A month later, a voicemail. "Alex, it's Dad. I know it was you." "Why?" Guilt crashed in, mingled with cold satisfaction. I visited him in his downsized apartment, the air stale with defeat. He opened the door, frail eyes hollow. "You won," he said, voice breaking. "But at what price?" I hesitated, resentment ebbing into pity. "The price you set, Dad. Betrayal." As I left, rain slicking the streets, a shocking realization. The revenge hadn't healed, it hollowed. Poetic justice, yes, but the twist? In destroying him, I'd mirrored his flaws. Heartbreak lingered, but so did resolve. I'd rebuild, free from his shadow. Yet, in quiet moments, doubt whispered. Was this victory, or just another cycle? The pursuit had changed me, graying my soul. And in the end, the betrayal that stung most was my own.